Food is, of course, wonderful at first, and at the same time, adding something like this can be incredibly advantageous to us as we age, as we push our bodies, as we grow.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so, like, I'm involved on the manufacturing side. So I've actually been in the very plants. I've been in New Zealand, where the milk is
Oh,
taken from
that's
the
awesome.
cows that are,
Mm-hmm.
on the hills. And I think when we say supplement, we think, oh, this is kind of man-made. But what is actually happening?
Girl, do I have a cool interview for you today? I have Darcy Haggith here from Canada. He leads Grupo Nutrition, which supports endurance sports and healthy living, and is also responsible for the Polar Joe brand, which y'all have heard me talk about this on the show before. It is my favorite go-to protein supplement because it is my two favorite things, protein and coffee. But I invited him to come on the show because I wanted y'all to understand the background and break down protein supplements. There's a lot of questions around this, and we're going to dive into it today. I'm so excited to introduce you guys to Darcy Haggith.
Darcy, welcome to the show, and thanks for being here.
Thanks so much. Great being here.
Now, you are a superstar. You're doing incredible things. You've had some major changes this year. I've gotten the pleasure of hearing some of your story, but if you could tell us a little bit about what you're doing and where you're at right now.
First off, that's really high praise, superstar. I think we're all just everyday folks. We started a nutrition company back in 2006. I came from an Ironman background, got involved. Formerly, I was in the pharmaceutical industry. Grew this business for a long time, and we did it. I like to say we did it organically. We wanted to do it. I don't know if we wanted to do it slow, but we did it slow. Word of mouth was really big in how our business grew. And I can get into more of the background of the company, a little bit later. But in 2014, 2013, I left my career to focus on nutrition. When I first got involved, the thoughts of being around people, like-minded people, supporting them in their athletic endeavors, I just thought that would be a really cool livelihood. So if I could surround myself with people that were like me and wanted to move and do things athletically, I thought, wow, that would be incredible. So it took a long time for that to actually transpire. I worked as a director in a pharmaceutical company while we grew the business, and at times I thought, what am I doing? My life balance was like way out of whack. It was crazy. I wasn't doing the very thing that I wanted to do, exercise, because all my time was trying to support this new business and my old career. So finally, I broke through in 2013. My wife and I had a conversation. We said, hey, let's go all into this. And we made a decision. I gave notice, a lot of notice at the company I was working at. They were really good to me, and I didn't want to leave them hanging. And then we just, we went all in. And that's when it really gets scary as a business.
Yeah.
Because if your business isn't profitable, you don't get paid. So there was some of that where, I was fighting to earn a paycheck. And luckily, we learned quickly, and, the business just kept on growing. And more recently, in March of this year, we decided to rebrand under Grupo Nutrition. Grupo Nutrition, we learned a lot under the brand Infinite Nutrition Canada. That's our roots. But we kind of outgrew it, and we really felt like we could be more if we were our own entity. So Grupo Nutrition was born in March. And we have a sub brand called Polar Joe. That's where we do specifically protein iced coffees. And we do that because that's a really general population. On Grupo, we really talk a lot about athletics, athletic terms. And I think for people that just want, protein iced coffee, a good way of getting protein in, we would bore them with the jargon, and maybe they wouldn't feel so comfortable. So Yeah, so since March, it's all been Grupo Nutrition and Polar Joe, and things are going really well. So
That's awesome. Well, yeah, I know that's when I met you, and I met you through like the Grupo avenue because I was working with
yes,
professional athletes, and yeah, the stuff you have through Grupo is highly individualized. It's customized. It's specific for athletes that are really trying to take their game to the next level. And then I learned about Polar Joe, which I'm not a professional athlete. I'm like the average Joe athlete, and Polar Joe is so my jam because it's coffee and protein. It's something like so simple yet so profound because how many of us like want both, and now we get it in one powder, which is just so cool.
yeah,
So I was super excited to connect with you.
yeah. So that's how it started. I come from an athletic background a little bit. Played hockey as a kid up here in Canada, and
That's so cool. That's
yeah, I
so
was
foreign to me because here in New Mexico, where it's so hot and we have one like tiny ice rink. So when I hear, and I'm a huge hockey fan, like if my
yeah,
chosen sport is hockey. So
okay.
what a cool thing to grow up doing.
Yeah, yeah, that's a lot of Canadian kids do that. And yeah, so then it led into cycling in my, my late teens. I rode a bike as a kid, but not, you know, at a competitive level like a lot of people we work with today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we Then I got into mountain biking. You know what? I'll always chase things that I really enjoyed doing. I never did something for the purpose, of anything other than the enjoyment. And
Mm-hmm.
that was hockey. That was mountain biking. That I got into what I call more endurance sports,
Mm-hmm.
like marathoning and eventually Ironman. But it was always the love of what I was doing
That's awesome.
that kind of compelled me to move. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Now I'm curious because it sounds like, you have this love for movement. You've always been an athlete at heart. And
Mhm.
then you found yourself in this position where you were kind of juggling two major careers, building a business and directing a company. I mean, that's a lot on one plate, and movement fell off. So tell me a little bit about your return to balance and the role movement played in your life in those different seasons.
Wow. You don't know it while you're in the middle of it. But I had this passion to grow this business. It's kind of that was the future. I wanted to go there. Uh, but I had, 400 people, reporting up through me, in this pharmaceutical company. And it was, I loved it. I love the people there. I still interact with a lot of those people. And it's one aspect that honestly, I miss running a small business. So we have a team of 8 that does everything here. We do some outsourcing for our manufacturing. So we don't have that big group, and I miss that social piece. I've always missed that. Sometimes like I'm an individual contributor in this business. I'm a leader, but I find that social, I miss that. So
Yeah.
I guess that's a bit of a tangent. But while I'm in the heart of it, I gave everything I had in the 10 hours a day that I worked for, as a director in that company. That's just who I am. I can't not do that. So building then, Infinite, what I had to do was stuff before work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Before I got into work at 8 o'clock, I did stuff after work. I would, do something at lunch, weekends. And some of that involved, making the products. Because at
Mm-hmm.
this point in time, there was just another guy that was a partner with me. And we'd be making products in the evening. So all the time that I had to exercise, like, what was happening was I was training for Ironman. So Ironman training, I was, anywhere between 10 and 15 hours a week of training, depending on, where I was as far as prep for the race. So all that went away. I'm
Mm-hmm.
used to eating like an Ironman athlete. So like I had to consume a lot of calories. Like I had to fuel what I was doing. I didn't change my fueling. I ate the same way, but my activity went way down. And I didn't recognize that I wasn't moving. I was building this business, and next thing you know, I don't look the same way. I certainly
Mm-hmm.
don't feel the same way, and it crept into my mental state as well, because I identified as being this endurance athlete. I'm working with athletes, in the business,
Mm-hmm.
but I was becoming less and less relevant. I wasn't, it was funny. I felt conflicted. I'm not real anymore.
Mm,
I'm not doing the very things that we're supporting in the business.
yeah.
So was really fortunate that my wife and I were going to a 50th birthday for a buddy. His name's Tom, that I worked with at this company, still a dear friend. And we were going to Vegas. And we hopped on the plane. And by the time we got off the plane, we had started the conversation about going all into this business and me leaving my pharmaceutical career. And at that point in time, like by the time we landed, we were done. We had the plan.
Oh,
And
wow.
7 weeks from there is when we're going to I'll give my notice as soon as I get back. And then 7 weeks, it was July 2nd, 2013. That's when, I'm no longer in the pharmaceutical career. So what was great, we just got off that hamster wheel for long enough to think. So
Yeah.
this 4.5 hour flight to Vegas from Detroit, that was it. And if not for the birthday party, if not for that, maybe we would have found our way there some other time. But that flight was a real catalyst to where we are today. So, and then things started to brighten up because I did have time to exercise again and move. And that really kind of completes me. So I never really looked at it as being kind of a darker time, but certainly I wasn't moving and I had a lot of pressure and I wasn't physically active. So all those things kind of, put me in a place that I wasn't as well as I am today.
Wow. Well, there's nothing like going through a season where you don't have the opportunity to exercise and move the way you would like to. And then all of a sudden having those doors open. I mean, talk about appreciating the ability to move and exercise. I know like a lot of people, I think, get caught in this, like, I have to exercise, I have to move, like it's a requirement, it's part of my to-do list, which, I mean, yes, there's benefits from it, and building it into our routine and implementing discipline is helpful. And at the same time, like sometimes I think that eclipses the reality that it is a gift. Like being able to move our body is such a blessing.
Absolutely. So I still feel like I have some unfinished business in the sport of Ironman
Do
triathlon.
you?
I was really close to qualifying for, the pinnacle in that is Kona. I had a really good race in 2005, and I needed to shave about 30 minutes off my time in 2006. I got super dehydrated on that race. Like I
Oh,
lost 10 pounds. It doesn't even make sense, but I went from 162 or 172 to 162 during the race.
dang,
All water.
dang.
Yeah.
You had
So
to feel awful.
yeah, so I didn't have the marathon I was looking for. I was 30 minutes short or longer than I should have been. And I passed out. As soon as I got into
Oh,
my
geez.
dry clothes, I passed out and they woke me up in the tent. And it's real dehydration is super cool because I think it is. I'm a geek. They give you some fluids, they give you a couple, bags of IV, and then you're totally normal.
Yeah.
So you go from this horrible place to
Right.
I feel great.
Yep.
And hydration, whenever I get a chance to talk about hydration, just every day and, in endurance sports, it's a place that I want to start because you can do all the other things really well, but if you don't do that well. So back to, I feel like I have unfinished business. I didn't qualify. And I was chasing that for a few years. And with Ironman training, you have to, and here's that word, you have to swim, you have to run, and you have to bike. You have to do all the disciplines. And what I found is I did not enjoy the swim. The swim involves you getting up at 5:30 in the morning, going to the pool. Sometimes in the winter it's cold. And I don't actually enjoy swimming. I did it to be a middle of the pack swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the running side, I'm kind of neutral,
Okay.
but riding, I get to do. I love riding. And in 2018, I made a decision, like, stop chasing that. And I asked myself, well, what do you really enjoy?
That's
And
awesome.
I really enjoy biking. It's never a have to. If I've got a spare hour, spare 4 hours, whatever, I will spend it on the bike. I get to ride my bike.
That's
I don't
awesome.
have to. I really encourage folks to find something that they get to that involves movement, because when you do that, it's you don't even have to think about it anymore.
Oh yeah, it's your
You
favorite
get to
time
do
of
it.
the day. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I completely relate to that. And my get to is powerlifting now, which is so new to me. I used to be an endurance athlete, and after I had kids, got into CrossFit and powerlifting, whole new world to me, but it is so fun. Like I see your face lights up when you talk about biking, and like I get it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about some of these gymnastics moves and powerlifting moves. But I think
Absolutely.
what I love about you and your approach to movement, you also, in some of our previous conversations we've had before this, you bring this into nutrition too, which is why you were so passionate about building Infinite and now Grupo. So tell me a little bit about like what interested you in sports nutrition and creating these products that can help people do better in their get to sport.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I kind of fell into it, right? So I am a scientist. I'm a biologist, microbiologist. I'm not a nutritionist. Um, and I believe that if you study, you do cause and effect. I do something, I reflect, this happened, and then you have a learning, and then you apply that learning to the next time you do something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did with nutrition. So my first Ironman was, and sorry for talking about Ironman all the time, but this is where the roots of my nutrition came. So 2002, I do my first, and it's was a slap in the face, to say the least. You do a lot of training, you think you know what you're about to hop into, and you have no idea. Maybe today you do. Like when I did this, there was no Facebook, there's no Twitter, there's no social media. We would go on to forums, learn a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The information did not flow the way it does today. So I think people can be better prepared for some of these things for the first time than we were back in 2002. So it was like an eye opener. It's like, wow, I didn't really do that well, like the nutrition part, and I didn't even know that I didn't do it well. There were other aspects. So the next year you go and do it, and I think I got to 12 hours the next year, and that one, now nutrition is becoming more a part of what I'm doing, because this 12 hours, 10 hours, whatever you spend doing this is about nourishing your body, conserving energy through that process so that you can run the best half marathon possible at the end. It sounds crazy, but that's what you're doing for most people that are competing in this sport. So along the way, I was getting a little bit more knowledgeable. I was learning from the people around me. I had a coach. I'd go to training camps, and I always listened to the stuff that's being said around me. And I went to an all liquid nutrition while I was riding and running. That was a way for me to get more calories in, but I still wasn't getting enough. I felt my nutrition was holding me back from that next step. And that's when I reached out. I found out through this, it still exists today, Slow Twitch. It's a really popular triathlon forum about Infinite Nutrition. And I bought the product in 2005. I trained on it 2005, 2006, raced on it, and I was a customer. And in 2006, that's when I met the folks that run the business in the US, and we had a conversation about us bringing the brand. And I can't remember that conversation because I was happily in the pharmaceutical industry. I loved the people I was working with. I loved what I did. But something that happened there, there was a spark of, hey, wouldn't this be cool? And 3 months later, we opened our business. Like in November of 2006, we opened here. So along the way of working with this brand, this business, we formed relationships and partnerships. So we've always done an incredible job with what we do. We pick the absolute best raw materials, and we follow the science. That's attractive to some people. Those people came to us. We didn't come to them. So the folks that support our Olympic athletes here in Canada, it's called the Canadian Sport Institute. I remember getting a call on my lunch. I told you I did things, before lunch. Susan Bogman, she's a sport dietitian, sports nutritionist. in Victoria supporting our Pacific-based athletes. And she called and they were looking to create a program for the athletes that would provide them what they needed for their specific discipline, for during and for recovery, to make sure that they were ready to go tomorrow. Plus, they were looking to make sure it was free of banned substances. Up until that point, CSI had never done anything like this. They always took a hands-off approach to recommending supplements to the athletes for fear of being involved in a banned substance. So Susan called, and then we created a program in 2008 that still goes today, and it's gone from just being in BC across Canada. So we support rowers, rugby, athletics, like all sports that you see on the World Cup, cycling, everything. We get to fuel these athletes.
That's awesome.
Which is super cool. I certainly, there's a pride that goes, that I have being involved in sport at the high level, this highest level. But the learning that we got by working alongside of people like Susan and Nicole and Trent Stellingworth, like these are the top of sport as it relates to, exercise physiology. To work with them and make, formulations, recovery products that they see will work for their athletes that are training, 30, 35 hours a week. We learned an awful lot during that.
So cool. That's so cool. Well, and it sounds like you guys had some fun too. Like I'm imagining you guys at night, like in the lab, kind of figuring out like how to concoct this perfect formula for these athletes in their specific sport. Now I know that's the target of Grupo. Like Grupo creates these design or customized formulas, which I think is incredible. I want to ask you a little bit more about Polar Joe, because Polar Joe is going to be something, like I said, that's the one that, I felt as soon as I learned about that one, I was like, oh, tell me more. And that was totally from a selfish standpoint because I love it. Right. So tell me how it transitioned to Polar Joe and about the thought that went into creating the protein you guys use for Polar Joe products specifically.
Sure. So I'm going to go back to CSI for a moment because that's a part of the foundation of what we do in Polar Joe. Trent Stellingworth, he used to work for Power Bar. He's a renowned researcher, doctor, and he found out that we were using a specific protein. I was doing a presentation in Toronto to all the sports nutritionists, dietitians from across Canada. And I was really nervous because, as I told you, I'm not a nutritionist. And here I am in a group of scientists that will know more than I ever know. And I'm telling them about our custom fuel program that we've set up for the athletes. I think this was in 2000, maybe 10. And I was extremely nervous. And Trent stood up in the middle of this presentation and said, or maybe he didn't stand up. That's the way I see it. I can't believe you're using that protein. And I'm like, but it was just with utter, affection and joy that he was saying.
He's excited.
He's excited. He says that protein has the lowest lactose levels. It's the purest protein. It's got the highest leucine content. And he spouted off all of the specifics. Like if you were to look under the hood at this protein, and it's a protein that we buy from Fonterra, which we feel is the best place to buy protein. And this specific protein, I think we're still one of the few, if not only in North America, that are using it. It's extremely expensive, but it does a really incredible job. So as soon as he said that, I could never walk away from that protein because that's what he wants for his athletes. So we never varied. And I had this ideal in my head that if it's good enough, and it's what the folks that are training 30, 35 hours, a week need, then it's what we also need. We're all, working hard, doing whatever we're doing. Why shouldn't we have, the best? So that's been the backbone of our business when it comes to if we put protein in a drink, it's that protein.
That's awesome.
Whether it's during, it's for recovery or a sleep drink, that's the protein.
So for those that might not know the details of, leucine and high quality whey, tell me a little bit more about what goes into picking this whey protein powder.
So first of all, we stumbled on it. It was a protein that was available to us. We had transitioned. We were buying all of our protein from across the border, and we were looking to make things a little bit, more local purchases. So we were buying from a company in Toronto, and it's just the protein that was available. So we were lucky break. And then, so after, if you want to go back and look at protein, so when we're talking animal-based protein and whey protein specifically, you have on a label, you might read whey, you might read whey concentrate, and whey isolate. So first of all, whey, if it says whey and not concentrate, it's 80% pure. So 80% of what's in there when it's dry is protein. So you got 20% of something else, which may be good or bad, and likely it's not what you're looking for if you're looking for just protein. Then you move to concentrate, and then we move from 80% to 90% pure. So again, there's, up to 20% of something that's, not protein. And then whey isolate, by definition, when they dry it, when you take the moisture out of it, has to be above 90%. The protein we use, it's 93 to 94 by spec, usually comes in around 93.9 when we look at our C of A's. That's on an as-is basis before it's dried. And then if you dry it, it's 97.5% pure. There's no protein that is higher than that. And why that matters is you have a higher purity of protein, and then the level of one of the key amino acids in there that is responsible for muscle rebuilding, muscle growth, is leucine. It's all about leucine. And we found this out not through my studies, but by working with some folks. I'll talk about Dr. Stu Phillips later, because he's a big part of where we're at. So Dr. Phillips always talks about muscle protein synthesis and leucine. Well, this protein is 14.3% protein or leucine. Most proteins are going to be around 10, so you're getting way more leucine, which is responsible for muscle growth.
I like to say leucine's like the key that turns on the muscle repair process. Like
Absolutely.
it's what turns it on. And like, as we age, we need more of it to turn that process on. So what I love about that is like this, because people use whey protein to build muscle, right? Whether you're a professional athlete or average Joe athlete, we're just using it to turn on that muscle repair process. Well, if we're taking in a protein that has like a very small percentage of leucine, we're really not getting what we need out of that protein. We could be getting so much more. And again, like, you get what you pay for too, right? And it sounds like this protein costs you guys a bit more to purchase, but because you're putting it in there, customers are getting more out of your protein powders.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more pure and it's got more of what you need. I think some of the keys are also what's not in there. It's specifically lactose. So lactose generally has an impact on the flavor of the protein. You'll hear people just lump things in. They say, "Oh, I don't like whey isolate," or whey proteins. It's chalky, it's gritty, it's it's this or that. And a cup of milk, I don't know if you would know this, but most people don't know this, but a cup of milk has about 12 grams of lactose in it. A 20-gram dose of the protein that I'm talking about, that goes into our Polar Joe products, it has 0.056 grams.
Yeah, nothing.
12,000 milligrams of lactose, or 56 milligrams. So it's not even, your body won't even know that level of lactose is in. So lots of people come to us and say, "I'm lactose intolerant. I can't do whey." Well, let's chat.
Yeah, I think that's such an important, because people say like, I have an intolerance to whey. And there's such a difference between like an intolerance to the protein versus like an allergy, or an intolerance to, an allergy to the protein versus an intolerance to the sugar. Like they're very different mechanisms. And you're right, like people who maybe can't handle the sugar, right, which would be like getting diarrhea from having a glass of milk, can have whey isolate. They generally don't respond to it. Now, if they have the milk protein, allergy, which generally shows up not in the gut. Like that shows up in the skin and inflammation. Like my son had a milk protein allergy when he was young. The first time we gave him formula, he looked like Will Smith in that, what's that? Hitch. Have
Oh,
you seen Hitch? Yeah. He looked like that because of the milk protein. And so, but I think I'm glad you brought that up because there's a lot of misconception around that. And it's unfortunate because I think people miss out on the opportunities of benefiting from things like whey protein because there's a misunderstanding around that.
Absolutely. So when the protein that we use it tastes really good. So we'll have people just take the plain protein as it is, mix it with water, and just take it. It's just bland. It's not obnoxious or anything like that. So we had this protein that we used. The folks at CSI wanted to buy just the protein. It's not something that we did early on in our business, but they wanted just the protein so they could add it to other foods, other things to fortify real foods with a little bit more protein. So they did that. Then we said, hey, we should do that. We should create a product. So on the Grupo side, it's called Raw. It's just that protein. You buy it. And what we did, I'm a big coffee guy. I love coffee. So we have
me and you both. Cheers as I'm drinking it.
We have one of those fancy Seiko coffee makers. You push a button, it grinds.
Us too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it spits out a couple shots of espresso for me. And I was taking that, putting it in some water with protein, this raw protein, and then maple syrup and cream. And we were making the best iced coffees, and it was brilliant. And my family, my friends, we had a pool, and they would come around and hey, can I have one of those? And so not only is it something that tastes amazing, people are wanting, it was good for them. Like I know there's 20 grams of protein. That's why I was doing it.
Right.
And we would go to bike events. We support bike races, and there's a local coffee shop, Anchor Coffee. We love them, and they do a great job on the coffee. We'd take their cold brew coffee, we'd mix it with our protein, the maple syrup and cream, and we would give it away and just show people how you can get more protein in, and
right.
Highlight our product. We did that for a couple of years without even thinking, let's make this into a product, like a dry product, a ready-to-make product.
Yeah.
It was there. And then in 2017, I had just read Mel Robbins' book. I forget what it's called. Have you ever heard, Mel Robbins?
Mm-hmm.
She talks about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And like, if you have a thought, you count backwards and you do something. It kind of interrupts your patterns, because we always have these thoughts and we don't act on them. I just finished her book, and this thought came in my mind, and I'm like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I went out and into our facility, and I made this drink. And the first iteration was pretty close. I made one switch. So what we're doing is taking real coffee, a freeze-dried coffee, so it's like an instant coffee before they agglomerate it. The protein we had just received from that same manufacturer or distributor that we got our protein. They sent us a sample of organic coconut sugar. It was something new, and they wanted us to try it out. That's sitting on my desk. I thought, hey, that sounds good. Like, let's try that. And we had a non-dairy creamer. So we put all those things together, and right out of the gate, it was like, oh my God, this is really good. I made one change. We tweaked the level of the non-dairy creamer to make it a little bit more creamy. And we wanted to boost the fat a little bit. So you guys, do you have Tim Hortons where you are? Do you know Tim Hortons?
Mm-mm.
Tim Hortons is like this coffee chain up here in Canada.
Okay.
And it's an institution. So not every corner, but a lot of corners have a Tim Hortons on it. Well, they sell an iced coffee like Dunkin' Donuts would, or
Okay.
Starbucks does,
Okay.
McDonald's. A lot of people we saw were drinking these iced coffees and enjoying them. And the problem with those iced coffees, well, what's the problem with those iced coffees?
Well, it's a lot of caffeine. And then if you get a sugar-based one, a lot of sugar, a lot of,
Yeah.
yeah. So you get the buzz, but it comes with like the sugar buzz too. So you don't actually get a like elevated energy level from it.
Yeah. So we looked at all the stats on them and they're like 22 to 23 grams of carbs. And this is for like not the giant one. It's just like
No, it's a small
medium
one.
one, right? Or
Yeah.
so 23 grams of sugar and next to no protein in them, 2 to 3 grams. So what we said is let's flip that upside down, and let's protein first, 21 grams. And then we wanted to keep the drink, we wanted it to be enjoyable because that's important. You want things to be appealing, something like I get to have this drink. So 9 grams of sugar from the organic coconut sugar, and then we get 5 grams of fat, and then the real coffee, it's got 110 milligrams of caffeine, which is, a decent level. It's not, off the charts. And yeah, as soon as we made it, we were super excited. I've got a local community here. I reached out on Facebook and said, hey, this just happened. I see that.
I bet you didn't have a hard time getting people to try it though.
No, it's funny. This Heather Vandresco, she's like, oh my God, like protein and coffee together. Like
Let me have all of it. That's how I was.
Yeah. So I took some to her, and then just by the response, like I'm not a huge Facebook guy, but I posted it and I was, wow, this is something that's really resonating. And so we made it into a real product really quickly. And
that's cool. That's awesome.
It's completely changed our business. And I think why it's, and not to be salesy, and I'm not trying to be, but why it's a popular drink is it first tastes good. My mom takes it every day and she tells me I get to have it, Darce. And I'm heartened because my mom's 75, 76, and she's petite, doesn't get a lot of protein in her diet. She needs more, and she's getting 21 grams from this thing that she really enjoys.
That's awesome. Well, and I think that's one of the major benefits. A lot of people ask me, do you believe in supplements? Do you think we should have? And when it comes to whey protein, I actually do. I mean, I don't believe we intuitively eat adequate protein. It's something that unless you're a big meat lover and you love having chicken, at every meal, it's not something we generally get enough of, especially as we age. And you've taken it and made it, something that is delicious and enjoyable. And I will say, like, all of your different products you guys have, I really appreciate from a sports dietitian perspective for a few reasons. So, like, number one, the caffeine, while it's caffeine and it's coffee. My second, I would say it's my second love. My first is my husband. Second is my coffee. And so it's that. But then on top of that, like, caffeine actually accelerates how quickly we uptake glucose into the cells. So having it, before or after a workout can actually enhance our workout or enhance our recovery. And so I find it to have some like benefits just for being an average Joe athlete.
Absolutely.
And then, I love the different varieties of sugar. So I wanted to like talk a little bit about how there's like the low sugar, there's the vanilla, and you've got some different options, because I think it's cool how you can utilize those for different reasons. So for example, like the low sugar, that's the one I recommended folks like your mom who are having it as a snack, right? Like I need some protein. I want a delicious drink. But then for folks that are using it post-workout, which I actually do often, my favorite right now, I have to tell you, because I'm excited about it, is I'll do your low sugar one and combine it with there's a pumpkin oat milk out right now for fall, and there's sugar in that. So it counterbalances it, and I get my glucose or my carbohydrate targets and my high quality protein, and it is delicious.
I bet.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. So how we evolved. So when we were under the former brand, we just had our protein, our classic version, just the cold brew, straight ahead. Then, an athlete, we work with a big gym up here called Movati Athletic, and they're big consumers. They have these nutrition bars and they use a lot of our cold brew, which, we're grateful of. But one of the moms, or a manager she was nursing, and an athlete that we work with, Melissa Bishop. She's Canada's fastest 800-meter runner. She had her first daughter and was nursing, and Darcy, I love this stuff, but I don't want caffeine in it. And at that time, both those requests came in, and we made a decaf version. So we tend to always listen to our customers. So that's how we evolve. That's how our businesses evolve. So decaf came, and then we got, well, I don't like coffee. I like this concept, but I don't like coffee. Well, that's when matcha came. So I didn't really know about the antioxidant properties of matcha.
Oh, it's amazing.
Crazy. That drink is actually better, I think, from a whole package, is the best of the bunch, because the antioxidant properties of matcha are incredible. It still has some caffeine, around 70 milligrams. So that came for the non-coffee drinkers. And then we just sat on that for a while, because we had these ideas of extensions. We knew that the keto crowd, folks that were subscribing to a low sugar, low carb diet, wouldn't, take our normal version. So then came the low sugar, and all we did was we dropped the organic coconut sugar, and we use natural stevia. So nothing is ever, there's no artificial anything about our products. So the stevia goes nice with this blend. So now you have zero sugars, and obviously no carb blend. And then vanilla and the mocha are just extensions of our classic.
Yeah, it's really evolved, hasn't it? It's really cool to hear like the process. And it's like you had the one product, the cold brew, made from your idea of what was it, maple syrup? I love it, so Canadian. The maple syrup. You guys had no maple syrup. But it's like you had this one product, and then how many options and opportunities opened up to expand it. And I will say too, the matcha is amazing. I love the matcha. That's my afternoon snack go-to, because it has less caffeine. But the taste of that one.
Yeah, my wife, that's her go-to. And I will have that if I'm having a mid-afternoon. That's what
That's awesome.
That's
awesome. Well, Darcy, we've talked these products up, and the cool thing is we're actually going to be doing a giveaway this week on the show. So anyone who hears this can head on over to my Instagram at Jess Brown RD. We'll be giving away one of the classic cold brews. It's your big bag. How big is the big bag?
It's 25 servings.
It's a big one. Yeah. So we'll be giving that away. Instructions will be posted on Instagram. So make sure you guys are following us, following Grupo. And how can they find you guys on social media?
So the polarjoe.com is where, or polarjoe.com is where we are from a web. And for some reason, Instagram doesn't like polarjoe.com, even though it's not taken. So we're still running under the Polar Joe. Co. And they can find us there. We're on Facebook as well, but Instagram's the where to go. We do reels and different things. You can get a feel from there what other people think of us. And if you look at the reviews and such, if you don't believe Jess and I, then just what our customers say.
Well, people are believing me because I'm talking about it all the time, and I'm taking it everywhere. I know at my office, I was taking it in. I have a work wife who actually has type 1 diabetes. And so she loves coffee as well. So she asked me about it. And when she found out there was a low sugar option, she was thrilled, because she could have, if she couldn't have the other option. But yeah, it's only a matter of time, I think, before everyone's drinking Polar Joe, in my opinion.
It's definitely a good product. I think, you have to go back to the why, on the protein side of it. So it's an enjoyable product. It's a good way. You said earlier about supplement. I kind of cringe sometimes when we get lumped into that space. I know that's the space that we're in. I'm a real food first, person. I recommend that people eat real food first and get all of your macronutrients through real food. Only if you're not able to, tweak your diet and get to the amount of protein that you need per day to support your lifestyle and, maybe your, age demographic, whatever, should you turn to, something like what we do. And for me, in the morning, I just don't have enough time, or I don't take enough time. Maybe it's an excuse to make real food that's going to have 20 to 30 grams of protein, in the morning. I do not want to skip my protein dose in the morning because I just fasted, but so that's it's a big time when I use it. You don't have to have it in the morning, but I take it in the morning just because I'm not making a meal where I'm going to get 20 to 30 grams of protein in my diet. I think you should always have your protein spaced out. If you can get it from real food, that's what I encourage you to do. And our company exist on athletes and people that maybe use us as a snack or a bridge to get to their total protein intake per day. So
I think you
look at it themselves.
Well, I love that you said that because in our training as a dietitian, that is something that is drilled into us, like food first. And I agree as well. Like there's something about the whole package of food that we can't necessarily capture in something that we've created man-made. However, we don't live in a world that operates just purely in the natural. I mean, we don't operate on like the sun, right? We have lights that help us kind of take our productivity to another level. And when I think of protein supplements, that's kind of how I think of it is if we're doing more with our body or we're trying to push it or grow it, or maybe fight aging or heal ailments, like that's not something that's just naturally done. Like we now have these tools that can help us. So I just did actually an interview on another podcast yesterday, and the dietitian asked me just that, like, do you believe in supplements? And I could see why you're like, I don't want to be categorized in that, because I think they do get a bad rap, but I'm with you that I think, food is, of course, wonderful and first, and at the same time, adding something like this can be incredibly advantageous to us as we age, as we push our bodies, as we grow.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so like I'm involved on the manufacturing side. So I've actually been in the very plants. I've been in New Zealand where the milk is taken
that's
from
awesome.
the cows that are on the hills. And I think when we say supplement, we think, oh, this is kind of man-made. But what is actually happening is they take milk from this cow and they separate it into a bunch of different fractions. Some of that becomes cheese and milk that we call real food.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it comes as the very specific portion of protein that we take. They isolate it down to, the exact, thing that we want from it. So it's all coming from that same bucket of milk from that farmer's, bucket. So, yes, it is. It's a supplement, but it is real food. It's come from real food. It's just that there's a process of getting it down to the isolated form. And, if I could, I really encourage, and you probably, I don't know your numbers, but what I've learned from Dr. Stu Phillips, someone that we've done a lot of research with, is, 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight becomes, that's a really good number for a lot of people. So if you're, doing, some high volume, work, exercise, if you're in an age demographic. So I guess I'm happy that I'm, aged, because that means that I'm
it's better than the alternative.
Yeah. When we hit even 40 to 50, that's, where the classic definition of aged begins. You get into your fifth decade. I'm, in the middle of my sixth decade now, which is crazy. But as we age, our ability to turn that key, as you said earlier, and turn that process of rebuilding or, building muscle, it takes a little bit more protein than it used to. It doesn't mean you can't do it. There's a term called anabolic resistance. And like I get deep in the weeds of the science. Another way of saying it is dampening, that the research community says. And it just means that we need a little bit more to do the same thing it used to. So when I was 20 and 30, I could be a little bit more free. I didn't have to get these levels. I think you'll see our food guides in North America change. Right now, they still subscribe to like 0.8. It's really half of what you need.
I
and
agree.
Especially as we age and as we move, that 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight is so important. So I'm 180 pounds. That equates to around 80 kilos. So for me to maintain my muscle mass, I need 130 grams of protein. I take that 130 grams and I space it 4 times throughout the day. That's the best way to do that. In the morning, as I said, I'm having a hard time, balancing my schedule and getting that protein in. So I use, what I do is I take raw and I mix it into coffee, a hot coffee, and that's how I start my day.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah, if your listeners could key on anything, 1.6 grams per kilo, and take that from real food. Look at the labels and make sure you're getting to the level that that number. And if you're not, then look to a company that does something like we do to help you bridge to that number.
That's awesome. Well, you are doing incredible things. I know I'm grateful, and my muscles are also grateful that we connected, because I am hitting those targets. Thank you so much. Like I mentioned, we'll be doing that giveaway this week on the show, and you can find all the information over at Jess Brown RD. I'll have all the links in the show notes to Grupo and Polar Joe Nutrition. And then you guys have been so great. Any listeners who are tuning in do get a discount. So if you guys head on over to polarjoe.com and enter Fuel Her Awesome, you will see a discount at checkout. Well, Darcy, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for joining us and sharing. I loved hearing the science behind it, and I know others did as well. We just appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks so much. I appreciate talking with you, and if we can help in any way, we would love to.